Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you how my old-fashioned father used to budget using tins. When I grew up mainly with my father. My mum died when I was young and money was very scarce and very precious. And my dear old dad used to budget his money by basically putting it into tins. Now most of the tins he used back in the day were little tobacco tins, because he used to smoke a pipe and he used to make sure there was enough money. He'd treat himself to a tin of tobacco a week, and it was in this little sort of oblong tin, and so he'd have keep the empty tin, and he'd put money in different tins for different things. Now the things we used to have to pay for back then are different to what they are now, even though I'm not that old. But for example, we used to have a tin for the milk money, because we used to have our milk delivered by the milkman back in the day. Used to get milk and eggs from the milkman, and he always used to make sure every week he'd put the milk money in the milk tin, put it on the windowsill, and when the milkman came on a Saturday, he always used to pay him the weekly bill. So in the week he used to always make sure all the tins had all the correct money in, and he'd have a milk tin. We also had a tin for 10p pieces, because we didn't have a telephone. So if we needed to make a telephone call, we used to have to use the local call box, which nowadays they use phone cards, but in those days it was 10p pieces. So if ever he had any change, if he went shopping or whatever and he had 10p, he would put them in a special 10p tin, which he'd keep. And then if we needed to make any phone calls to doctors or appointments or anything, and we used to have to walk down to the call box, I actually arranged my first started going out with my husband. He had a phone and I didn't, and I had to go and put 10p in the call box to arrange our dates. And I'd be going, you're going to have to hurry up and decide what time, because the pips are going, because the pips would go in the phone box when you only had like a few seconds left before the money ran out, and the phone would go beep 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 beep, and you'd have to go, I've got to go, or you'd have to put more 10p in. So we had a 10p tin. We also had a food tin where he'd put money in a tin every week, and if there was any left over from doing the shopping, it was for in the week. If we ran out of something, if we had enough money in the tin, we could go and buy some more. If we didn't, then we couldn't. Now I took this idea of tins. He had several other tins for different things, but you get the general idea. And it literally was a tin. I've actually got one of our old tins. This, bless it, this is one of my dad's tins that he used to put money in years ago. Every week he would literally work out his budget, how much money he had, divide it by what he needed to pay for, and then he would put the cash in a tin every week, and it would stay there. That would be, you have to have self-control, that you just don't use the money for the electric to go and do extra shopping or something. You do have to have some self-control. But this is, bless it, this is my dad's tin that I've kept. When I was a student in uni, the way grants were done in those days is different to how it is now. So we didn't have a lot of money, but we didn't have to pay it back like they do now. So I basically worked out, after all my rent was paid, how much money I had left for the whole of my academic year. Well, termly it was then, because you get paid termly. And that I would divide between what I needed to buy. So at uni then, the rent covered the bills, but it didn't cover the electric. We had an electric meter that used to have to get 50p for. I also needed to go to the laundrette to do my laundry, and I needed food. That was the three things that I needed after I paid for everything else. So I basically took my amount of money that I had left after the rent and my grant and divided it into how many weeks the term was, and that was the amount per week I had. So I had enough money, I remember, to do one load of washing a week. So I'd do one load a week, and I'd go and get the change out when I went and got my money out each week, because I left it in the bank, and when I decided how much per week I had, I would go every week, take that amount of money out the bank, get it changed into the different coins I needed and put it in tins. So I had a tin for the laundrette, I had a tin for electric coins and a tin for food. And I had enough for one wash a week. Then I had so many 50 pences per week to put in my electric meter, so you tried not to use too much electric, and if you ran out you were sat in the dark. That was all there was to it. And then I had so much for food in my food tin, and that's what I did. So I had 3 tins, little tins, in my flat as a student, and that's what I did, and that was from what my father did, and I still do it now. I have got tins for all sorts of things, and I label them. So this one's for the dog. I put money each week to pay for her worming tablets and her food. I have an electric tin. I have Christmas tins. And I have food tins. I have a little book, and what I do is I know how much I earn. I divide what I need to pay for. Certain things are fixed, and I write it down. I haven't got any amounts because the amount will be different wherever you live. But I know how much my council tax is. I do it weekly, but you can do it monthly. And I know how much per month I need to put aside for my council tax, my electric, my food, oil, dog, Christmas fuel. I know how much fuel roughly I use per week. So I put that aside each week. And I put them all in a different tin. This one, my daughter got me for Christmas. It's a new tin, this one, and it had vegan jellies in it. And this tin has been now as my garden fund. So if I ever have a few spare pennies, I'm not spending much on my garden, I put it in here as my garden fund. So I basically work out each week my budget and put it in a different tin. Now, if you're worried about being robbed and somebody coming in and taking all your tins, I don't physically put money in every tin. For example, for Christmas, what I sometimes do, or I have been doing, is, and what my friend does actually, is instead of putting physical money in a tin, you can buy vouchers. For example, if your Christmas tin is your Christmas food tin, and you know, say you shop at Iceland, for example, which is what I do. I always do a lot of my Christmas shopping at Iceland. You can go into Iceland and you have like a loyalty card, and you can put money on it to save it. So say you're saying, for the sake of argument, you're putting £5 a week in your Christmas food tin. And when you go to Iceland, then you could put £5 on your bonus card, and then you keep it there on the card. And so it's not physically in a tin, but that money is designated just, you can only spend it in Iceland, so that the sun keeps coming in and out of the windows. If you're worried why I keep changing colour here, it's the sun keeps suddenly, it's going around the side of the house. So you could put money there. My friend also does vouchers, as in for certain shops like Matalan and stuff. She'll save up so much money, and then she'll go and buy a voucher for that shop, and then at Christmas she just uses the vouchers to buy her gifts at certain shops. So A, she knows she's not spending the money, and B, because it's slightly safer than keeping money in the house. You could also just write an amount on a piece of paper each week and sort of put it in your tin, so you've ring fenced that money, so you don't have to, because a lot of people now get paid a bank transfer. You might not have the sort of ability to go and get money out all the time. Like I know our post office keeps closing down, and they're having a lot of trouble with the electrics there, so you can't physically go and draw money out to put in a tin. But if you have your income, and say you write it in your book, and you, where's my book gone? Yeah, so you've written your amounts in there, so you can work out, if you put how much you earn at the top, put how much you're spending on everything else and what you've got left. You know that money's ring fenced in your account, so you can't draw more money than that. So you can have what's left. Say it's £10, that's the only amount you can draw out in the week to use on your cart with your food. Not explaining this very well, am I? Have left to spend. You can sort of ring fence your money if you don't want to physically take it out and put it in a tin, because I do understand it can be quite dangerous. I've got a fuel tin, but I don't actually put money in this tin anymore because they've stopped taking cash at our local garage. You have to pay by card now, and it's pay at the pump only. So I write an amount that I know that is what I'm going to spend on my fuel, so that I don't spend it anywhere else. I hope all that makes sense, but you get the idea. See if you can think of some different ideas yourself, perhaps for sort of safety, as in I think the days like my dad, bless him, keeping money in tins in the house is not like it used to be, especially in more urban areas. You don't have to have any special tins. I've got quite a few because I keep getting given them as gifts because people know I love a good tin. But this one, it was just what I had golden syrup in. And I quite like the tin because it was like a memorial one for the Queen. So I do keep stuff in there. That is actually for 1p and 2p coins. I find them quite fiddly in my purse. So what I do is I save them in a tin till I get like a certain amount, and then you can go and change them at the bank. So basically, it's a bit like envelope stuffing, but instead of using envelopes, you stick it in a tin. But if you don't want to actually use cash, or you can't get cash out because you get paid by bank transfer, you could just write the amounts every week in there and sort of ring fence it in your head so that you don't use it for something else. Or you could even buy vouchers and things like that so that you don't get tempted to spend the money somewhere else. There we are. I hope that was helpful. I hope that made sense. It went a bit rambling at the end. It was sort of quite hard to sort of explain without a direct script, and I didn't want to try and script it too much. But anyway, there we are. That was a little lesson my dad taught me, is about having everything in a tin so that you didn't spend it, and you just got to keep it in that tin. So if that tin is for food, that's what you use it for, and don't get tempted to go and sneak off and buy a new pair of shoes or something with it. So I hope that was helpful. Perhaps you could put some of your money saving tips down below, and we can all help each other be very, very frugal.